Normally, when a car company launches a new version of a previously established model, it's customary for titles like Auto Express to come along and compare it with what's gone before. But that's going to be quite tricky today because we're here to drive the new Citroen C4, and frankly, I can't remember that much about the previous version of this car at all. It set new benchmarks for anonymity in the Focus and Golf class. That's not an accusation, though, that's likely to be levelled at the new edition of the C4 because, well, look at it. You can immediately see that the new C4 is a world apart from its ultra-bland predecessor and indeed from much of the family car class. They've really gone for a coupe crossover look here with an aggressive rear roofline and some complex surfacing on some of the body panels. It'll stand apart in the class on powertrains too because this car sits on CMP, the smallest of the PSA platforms, and that means it'll be offered with a choice of petrol or diesel or pure electric.
The EC4 will have a 50 kWh battery, delivering what looks like an acceptable range of just over 200 miles, plus 100 kW charging for when you need to fill it up mid-journey. There are 3 petrol engines as well, all 1.2 litre 3-cylinder PureTechs, producing 99 horsepower, 128 horsepower or 153 horsepower. And Citroen still believes diesel has its place, because it's offering not one version of the 1.5 litre motor, but 2, giving you a choice of 108 horsepower with a manual gearbox or 128 horsepower as an automatic.
Don't be fooled either by the fact that the C4 sits on the same platform as super minis like the Peugeot 208 and the Vauxhall Corsa. The wheelbase has been stretched a bit on this version of CMP, and there's enough room inside for 4 6-footers to sit in reasonable comfort. Round the back, meanwhile, the boot capacity is a decent 380 litres. That's about the same as you get in a Volkswagen Golf. There's a variable height boot floor for a bit of extra practicality, and the capacity is the same regardless of whether you go for a combustion engine or a battery electric vehicle. The new C4 takes a different approach on the road as well because there's no discernible attempt to be what you might call dynamic. The steering's quite light and there's a lot of play around the straight ahead, and it's not that communicative either, and there's a reasonable amount of body roll. But the trade-off for this is some quite excellent comfort, especially at lower speeds around town. All C4s in the UK get Citroen's latest hydraulic suspension as standard, and it's the best implementation of that technology that we've seen to date. Certainly better than it is in the C5 Aircross. Yes, when you get up to higher speeds and out of town, it can get a bit more unsettled over bumps and crests, and sharp road imperfections can still make their way through to the cabin. But in general, it just seems like an honest attempt to make a car that's more focused on comfort than it is dynamic handling agility. And for the most part, it succeeds. This car has the midpoint in the C4's petrol engine lineup. It's a 1.2 litre PureTech 3-cylinder producing 128 horsepower. And in this car, it's paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Although it is available with a manual, and frankly, that's the spec that we would go for. It's not that the automatic doesn't shift sweetly enough, it's just that it might feel more comfortable with life when paired with the high-powered engine. In case you're worried about 3-cylinder refinement in a family car, the PureTech unit's pretty well proven. And if you rev it beyond 3,000, yeah, there's a little bit of thrum. But for the most part, it fades into the background. It's drowned out quite easily by the road roar from the 18-inch wheels and a bit of wind noise from the side mirrors. Inside, the focus has been on smart functionality. There are relatively few padded plastics, but all of the finishes that are in the line of sight look smart enough thanks to some clever texturing.
Thankfully, Citroen has also seen sense and gone back to offering regular dials and switches for controlling the heating and ventilation. They're just that bit easier to use. The main touchscreen display, meanwhile, is quick enough to respond to inputs, but the graphics and interface remain a bit clunky. We'd be quick to hook up our phone and use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay instead. Elsewhere in the cabin, our high-end test car had an unusual treatment around the glove box, with a secondary tray to store a tablet PC or iPad, and then a mount that slides out to allow it to be used while on the move. It looks quite a complex bit of engineering for the benefit of just the front passenger, and we're still not sure we'd want an additional display, potentially showing moving video or games, that far forward in the cabin.
The new C4 really is an exciting addition to the family car class, not just because of its styling and its novel approach to body shape, but also that lineup of powertrains, including a pure electric version that could have real appeal for company car choosers. It gets plenty of kit as standard too, but it's also the best example yet of how Citroen's renewed focus on comfort can make its cars feel different from the opposition's. The all-important monthly finance figures will probably determine how big a success it is overall, but if Citroen gets its numbers right, then we could see quite a few examples of the C4 turning up on British driveways in 2021. It deserves nothing less than that.
If you enjoyed this video, click on the video windows for more of our latest news and reviews, and don't forget to subscribe.